And we are pleased to be joined today on the Auburn Undercover Podcast by a very special guest. I think most of y'all know this guy. It's Auburn head basketball coach Bruce Pearl. Tigers are getting set to begin year 9 under Pearl, defending another regular season championship. Season gets started November 7th against George Mason inside Neville Arena. Bruce, thanks so much for hopping on today. It's about to be year 9 for you now at Auburn. It seems like just yesterday you were walking around lecture halls with KT Harrell, urging students to come to games. Does it feel like it's been 9 years? Is it shorter, longer?
Way shorter. I agree with you, Nathan, and it's good to be with you. Yeah, I mean, time flies when you're having fun, and we've had a lot of fun. I can't believe it's been 9 years, going into year 9. Blessed, grateful, just feel so fortunate to be here. I like going to work every day. I love Auburn and what we're trying to do, and I think I appreciate it so much because I know how difficult it's been, and I know how difficult it still is to remain competitive.
So starting off in terms of your team right now, last year you said that was a squad that gelled so quickly over the summer, even though it was a bunch of newcomers. Where is this team at, you would say, within the context of preseason and summer practices? What would you say that the personality of this group is like compared to what fans saw last season?
Nathan, what I think fans would find, I think, fascinating is how little we know until the lights come on and until we start playing other competition. And so really, I mean, look, you've got an idea. We lost 2 great players in Jabari and Walker, but we brought in 2 great prospects in John I and Yohan. And so I don't think there's any question that we've really helped fill that void. The question is, all right, look, Jabari was the best player on the floor every night. Neither Yohan or Janai are going to be the best player on the floor every night. That's way too much to ask. Walker was the defensive player of the year in college basketball. Neither one of them is going to be the defensive player of the year in college basketball this year. So therefore, it really comes down to everybody else. It comes down to how much Wendell and KD and Zepp and Chris and Al and Jalen and Stretch and Dylan, and Lior have improved. And that is to be determined, and we'll get a real good feel in a couple of weeks when we start our exhibition season.
Bruce, for you now, it's been 3 SEC titles, obviously 2 regular season, 1 tournament in the past 5 seasons. Obviously, the Final Four run. It's now become the standard for you guys to compete for championships instead of the aspiration. In terms of the health of a program from year to year, how important is that jump? How important that first title in 2017 and then the Final Four run? How important is that to be able to look your players in the eye each year and say, and for they themselves to know, this is something highly, highly attainable. They literally saw it happen on the court in that jersey the previous year. How important is that jump for a program to make? And does it make it easier once that first championship comes, once you set that precedent for you to place higher expectations on your players?
Nathan, it's a good question. I don't know how closely related one is to the other. Certainly, when you can point to some success over a period of time, and you look at different players, different strengths and weaknesses, different schemes, the competition changes, and over a period of time, you're able to win championships. It does give you confidence that what we've been able to do with different groups has worked to a level of championship. But that's about all it really does, in the sense that I do think it's up to each group themselves. Are we going to get stops? Are we going to end possessions? Are we going to take charges? Are we going to get 50-50 balls? Are we going to be able to make shots? Are we going to play really unselfishly offensively, turn a good shot down to get a teammate a better shot? Are we going to not take possessions off and succumb to fatigue? Are we going to communicate? Are we going to improve throughout the season? I think I'll end with that and start with that, in the sense that I just think one of the things that, again, teams don't all do, and I don't think, again, something that fans can understand. Man, are we good enough to beat the first team on our schedule? And then a few days later, are we good enough to beat the second team on our schedule? And we got to continue to get sharper. We got to continue to learn more. We got to continue to play better, have better chemistry, have better rotations, do the things that we knew, be more efficient, be able to make plays, so on and so forth. If you do that, then you give yourself a chance to be very competitive. If you don't, if you take a look at, okay, where are we right now at the start of the season and think, let's say we're really good. If we just stay there, we're in trouble. And let's say we're not very good and we just stay there, we're in trouble. You got to grow.
Last season, your contract extension, I believe it was the night before the Oklahoma game, was when it was announced. So, obviously we addressed it then, we talked about it, but we were focused on what's happened on the court, and then the season's over before you know it. Just sort of walk me through the weeks leading up to that decision, the conversations you had with Allen and Auburn's administration. And is that extra stability and support with that, is that something you feel? Did you feel it afterwards? Does it really have an effect?
Nathan, listen, I'm straight new money, okay? Straight new money. 62 years old. It wasn't until I was 45 and got the Tennessee job before I really made any money coaching. So, for 45 years, I was who I am, right? And then these last years at Tennessee and Auburn, I'm what people kind of know. And so, again, just feel very, very, very blessed. I will tell you that partly because coming in from having been out of coaching, when I got here and my first contract was great, it was somewhere probably in the middle of the league. And thank Jay Jacobs and Dr. Gouge and the Board of Trustees leadership for bringing me to Auburn and getting me back into coaching. I go to work every day rewarding those guys for making that decision. And it wasn't, we didn't win right away. And we got in some difficulties with the NCAA, getting kind of entangled in that FBI situation. And so what happened was salaries really got put on hold. And then as soon as we wound up getting, getting sideways a little bit with the NCAA or be involved in that, we won a championship. And certainly winning those championships, that's when you begin to get more secure in your contract, so on and so forth. But because we were dealing with the NCAA, we try to send the message that, look, we're going to go ahead and keep our contracts where they are. And we're not going to really, unless it was already by contract, we really got very few raises. So when we went to the Final Four in 2019. My coaching staff was about the 12th or 13th highest paid coaching staff in the SEC. That's after the 2019 season. And so that's not a complaint. That was the reality. And so certainly after that season, we had won the championship in 18 and won the tournament championship in 19. So 2 championships later, we're still 13th or 14th. Obviously, since then, adjustments have been made, and our coaching staff is now in the top 5, and I think I'm in the top 3 or 4. Obviously, Cal would be number 1. I think Rick Barnes is 2, and I'm right there, just slightly ahead of Buzz. Well, that means that, what I've always tried to do is I've always tried to finish at or above my pay grade. And I think if you look back historically at my programs throughout my career, my teams have finished higher than I've been paid. Now, that's going to be hard to do now, right? And do every year. But that's obviously what the goal is. So grateful that Auburn understood I did not want to leave. Grateful that Auburn understood that I wanted to finish my career here in coaching. I knew there would be opportunity. My buyout had gone way, way down. And if I'd have waited at the end of last year, it would have been easy to go. Obviously, there were a number of jobs out there that I could have gotten. I just wasn't interested. I've worked too hard to build this program. I've never been happier. I've never loved the place I've lived more. Never loved the people more. Loved all the fan base more. Never been a better fit. And so, like I say, recruits, even sometimes, you tell me what's better. Like I've offered some prospects some scholarship, and they're not sure what they want to do. I said, well, tell me what's better. And sometimes they tell me what's better because they decide to go somewhere else. But a lot of times they decide to go someplace else. And honestly, Nathan, I go, they didn't do better. They didn't. But that's their call. This was my call. And I'm grateful that the university took care of me and my coaching staff.
Looking now at y'all's schedule and outlook this season, so many players have told us how important a strong non-conference is for preparing for them. So many of your players preparing them for the SEC. They said last year, they've said it in seasons past. You guys are facing more high major teams away from home in the non-conference than anybody else in the SEC with USC, Washington, and West Virginia. How important those three games in particular, and then just overall a strong non-conference. How important is it to secure those games, and then just from a logistical standpoint, how much time and effort goes into yours and Mike Burgermaster's planning of those games?
Yeah, well, first of all, the numbers, as you mentioned, how about this one? There are only 6 Power 5 conference schools in the country that are playing 3 true road games. There's only 1 Power 5 conference school in the country, Auburn, playing 3 true road games against other Power 5 conference teams. And so it's hard to win on the road, and it's hard to win at USC, at Washington, and at West Virginia. It sort of was timing how it all worked out. This was a year we were supposed to be on the road in the Big 12. The SEC actually owes us, but we will probably never see unless we end the SEC Big 12 contract on a home game. We've been on the road like 2 more games than we've been home. That's because my first year, I volunteered to go at Texas Tech when nobody wanted to go, just to fulfill the league's commitment, and never got that game back. The Washington game is obviously a return from when Washington came. And then the USC game was actually negotiated by Alan Green when we hired our wonderful volleyball coach and his staff to come to Auburn. It was a good deal. The deal was, would you go out there and start a series at USC against Andy? And I was happy to. And I'm glad I did, because we got a great volleyball program now. So might as well tie up the USC-Washington trip together and do it over the Christmas break. What a good fortune that was to be able to make one trip. And, can we get – we'll see. Can we get 1 or 2 of them? We'll see. They're hard to come by. And then the non-conference, we've got some really, really good home games. I mean, St. Louis will come in ranked in the top 25, maybe in the top 15. They bring everybody back. And, of course, we scrambled at St. Louis and got an unbelievable road win there last year. George Mason will be a tough opener. There's a lot of programs on our schedule of mid-major teams that have won their league. The Cancun Challenge will be really well-coached teams, really good teams. So it's important. But you send your team and your program and a selection committee a message. I'm not afraid to go on the road. I'm not afraid to play quad 1 and quad 2 opponents. We just gotta beat some of them, and obviously that'll be hard because we will have a lot of players this year playing some new roles. Without Jabari and without Walker, almost everybody will have an opportunity to define their role this year, and they'll be different than it was a year ago.
Speaking of that, I want to touch on a couple of your newcomers, starting with Janai. You said in the summer he was the top target on y'all's entire transfer board. You've told the story about how excited you guys were to get that phone call from him 5 minutes before he committed. Just what can fans expect from his game in terms of how he affects y'all's offense, your spacing, et cetera, as a true post player? Because that's not something you guys have had a bunch of in your tenure here.
No, he's old school. He's an old school back to the basket inside player, left-handed, got great feel, great ability to score around the basket. The challenges officials allow so much contact in there that they've done away with the post game in the NBA now. And the post game is not even as prevalent in college. Everybody spread, drive, draw, dish, go to the foul line, knock down a 3. I mean, it's and we played that way obviously a lot too. But it's great to have a guy that can throw the ball into, score with the basket, get to the foul line, inside shots, inside rebounds. So we're going to need to do a great job on the offensive glass. Janai can also move his feet, so he's also going to give us some great flexibility defensively. It's one of the things I've been most pleased about. Is he could guard 1 through 5. Getting his motor to run all the time, play a little faster because we're going to play a faster pace than what he's ever been used to. Big, he's strong, he's athletic, and he's got some experience, and he's got a great work ethic, and he's a great kid. So he's going to be he will be one of the better inside players in our league, particularly one of the better inside scorers, and really good shot blocker, great size. I mean, just incredible. Stephen Pearl did a tremendous job, and I'm really grateful to Janai and his family because they could have stayed home, gone to Florida. Todd Golden did a great job recruiting him. We had been on him a little bit longer, and Florida they have a great center already, and I think they could have played side by side, but Janai will be one of our main options when he's on the floor. and we're excited about that.
Well, then I want to talk about Yohan. You mentioned at the start of preseason practice how athletically he's comparable to a Tobias Harris or a Jabari Smith. For you, when you bring in a 5-star, top 20 overall, what have you, is there a feeling of added pressure as a coach to tap into that potential? What's been your approach as a coach when there's that high level talent? And I guess, has that aspect of your coaching improved and changed over time? I mean, to the point where you look at last year with a couple 5-stars, you had both of them go in the first round of the NBA draft.
Yeah, I don't feel more pressure just from that standpoint. They're ready when they're ready. I will say this about Yohan. He's actually a better athlete than Jabari or Tobias. Now, that doesn't mean he's a better player than either one of them, because right now he's not. But he's got great upside. See, he's really got great size, great speed, athleticism, and bounce. He's got really good skill level. He's just he's not as experienced, and he's not played the game as long. There's no question that there will be times Yohan will look, he'll be the best player on the floor at times. But because he is young and still learning the game, there'll be times when he'll be like quiet, like Chuma was quiet at times. And people, well, why isn't he being more aggressive? And it's not about his being aggressive. It's about just him fitting in and kind of learning and playing hard and playing unselfishly. But Yo's got great upside. I think, though, first of all, Walker had a year under his belt where he didn't have much success. He got better at Carolina, but he wasn't on the floor a lot. And so there was a lot of questions about Walker, and he exceeded all expectations. I don't think anybody could have ever expected. I think Jabari, even though he was one of the top 5 to 10 players in his class, quickly rose to one of the top 3. And I think he matched all the expectations. He probably exceeded them, because don't forget, Jabari Smith did not have a Kentucky or a Kansas or a North Carolina or a Duke or a Michigan State, or he didn't have offers. It was LSU, Tennessee, Auburn, really good programs, but he didn't have top 5 programs. And so they wanted other guys on the board more than they wanted Jabari Smith. And Jabari Smith made him go, you know what? I was better than you thought I was. And I'm not saying that to be critical. He just was. So, anyways, that was kind of the case right there.
There just aren't a lot of programs out there that are bringing back three guards from basically the top, 6, basically top 6 of y'all's rotation. Those 3 veteran guards. How important is that trio for y'all's success this season?
I mean, it's very important. Zep and Wendell and KD are really important. And they've all improved. They're all undersized. And so it's kind of like you're looking at the NBA draft a little bit. Not everybody wants Jared Harper or Sharif Cooper. And those guys have had to go at it a little differently. We have always liked speed and quickness and skill and toughness over just length. And a lot of guys get under-recruited, I think. And look, Auburn is still a program that needs to get involved with under-recruited guys. We still do. The last couple of years, as our program's elevated, we've recruited better players. We've not gotten many of them. I'll be honest with you, I've lost more players in the last 2 years recruiting to the success we've had at Auburn than any time I can ever remember, like years and years. So we're hunting in the right places, but we're not. We've been getting more no's because my assistants have done a really good job getting out there and getting us in. So therefore, I still think we've got to know who we are. And one of our niches has been undersized guards that play fast, small, quick. There are certain things that we can't do defensively or offensively because of that, but we'll play to their strengths. And so those 3 guys have got to be really good for us to have a chance to be championship team this year.
What would you say you're most excited about in terms of this team? What are the factors you think as a coach? Okay, I want to see if they can get here. I want them to learn how to X, Y, and Z over the course of season. Is it 3-point shooting? Is it settling into y'all's defensive scheme? Is it
we've got to make more open shots. We've got to be better from 3 and 3. And so far in practice, we are still not finishing open shots like we're going to need to. And so my job is to get them. Their job is to take them and make them. And so we got to do a better job of getting them, and they got to do a better job of making them. So that would be one thing. I just want to see guys getting better. I just want to see progress. I expect all my players to be better than they were a year ago, offensively and defensively. That's all we're looking for. And I'm very, very proud of the fact that we've had very few guys. We didn't have any transfer except Devin, and that was just a tough call for Devin. He was at a position where we had everybody back. So Chris came back, Al came back, KD came back, Zep came back, Lior came back. There's 5 guys at 2 positions, at the 2 and the 3. And I just think Devin went, you know what? I love the 18, 19 minutes I was getting. I love my time at Auburn, and I love Devin, and he's going to do great out at Arizona State. But he just wanted to see if he could have a chance to maybe play a more dominant role. And I think looking at everybody coming back, I think he looked at it and said, I just don't know that that's going to be the case this year. So I'm very proud of the fact that we are one of the few programs that brought guys back. Why? Not me, not my staff. It's Auburn. It's Auburn. It's the Auburn family. It's the way our student athletes are treated. And it's their experience here academically and on this campus. They like it here. They want to be here. They could go elsewhere. They choose to stay. And I'm grateful. And again, let's see if we can take advantage of the opportunity.
Bruce, that's it for our time today. I can't thank you enough for hopping on. I'm sure our listeners really, really appreciate it, and excited to see you guys again this season.
Okay. Look forward to getting started, Nathan. Thank you. War Eagle.
Thank you.